If you're a VR gamer, then you already understand just how much more immersive this form of gaming can feel. Strapping on a headset and getting fully absorbed into a virtual world is a feeling that's unlike anything else out there. At its core, this is what we love about the medium. That said, there are some VR experiences that don't feel like they're truly designed to be lived in forever, and that's okay. Some more narrative-heavy titles, like the Midnight Walk or the Moss series, feel best experienced mon go. At least upon a revisit, they just might not have the same impact the second time around. That's where this list comes in. The following 10 games are VR experiences that I found you can spend endless hours, days, weeks, perhaps lifetimes within, and still get that special thrilling feeling while within the headset. No, these aren't always the most complex, mind-blowing VR experiences out there, but they are the ones that I feel myself coming back to most often. Whether you're a longtime VR believer like me already, or simply want to know what you can look forward to dedicating your life to once you do decide to jump in someday, these are my 10 picks for VR games with the most replay value. It's time to say goodbye to the real world. Of any game on this entire list, Astrobot Rescue Mission is the one that feels like it has the most definitive beginning and end. There are a finite number of levels here, and I'd understand if most players simply hopped in, beat the game, and then moved on to something else. However, this game is simply so good that I'd argue it bears replaying time and time again. Everyone knows about 2024's Game of the Year winning Astrobot on the flat screen, but Rescue Mission represented Astro's first foray into the world of a full, feature-length game, and it all takes place in virtual reality. To put it simply, the experience is VR magic. In fact, the 2024 game is one of my favorite titles of all time, but I still couldn't help but feel like a small amount of Astro magic was lost when the headset was nudged to the side. While nothing will ever quite feel like your first time playing Astrobot Rescue Mission, it's still a consistent blast to run back through all of the game's levels, collecting all the stranded bots and trying to improve time attack records. The only shame here is that Rescue Mission is locked on PSVR 1, which is something I pray Sony rectifies every day so PSVR 2 adopters can experience this masterpiece. Pistol Whip kind of feels like a hybrid of Superhot VR and Beat Saber. Two games we'll get to later, but that doesn't discount it from still being an incredibly fun, highly replayable VR title in its own right. Guns plus rhythm are a crazy feeling combination in the VR space, and Pistol Whip absolutely nails it. In fact, it works so well that Pistol Whip managed to win Best VR Game at the 23rd Annual DICE Awards, which was no small feat. The visuals are crisp and vibrant, the gunplay smooth as silk, and the soundtrack is full of bangers. While it's not one I return to as frequently as some games that it clearly took inspiration from, Pistol Whip is no slouch at all, and you can easily find yourself sinking a full day into the rhythmic carnage. For many people, Gran Turismo 7 is the killer app of virtual reality. For others, it can be a strong source of motion sickness as you careen around in the driver's seat of a Corvette, screaming along at 200 miles per hour. If you can handle it, however, GT7 and VR takes the long-running franchise to previously unmatched heights. Personally, I could mess around with this game in VR for the rest of my life and be more than satisfied. It looks great in the headset, and there really are few feelings in gaming as thrilling as nailing overtakes around Nürburgring in the pouring rain at night. This is a game I play with all assists and HUD displays switched off, so I can be as immersed as possible, and the results are stupendous. I love playing and replaying GT7 in VR so much that I've decided to try to platinum the entire game from within the headset, which is a journey I'm still chipping away at. Pro tip, racing in go-karts while in VR is one of the most fun ways you can spend an afternoon without heading to the local track yourself. I suppose there's an argument that No Man's Sky and VR isn't actually replayable, because chances are you're just going to continually dump dozens of hours into your first world character anyway, since the game is so darn big and essentially endless. But this isn't an argument over semantics. Bottom line, you can play No Man's Sky in VR forever if you'd like. a procedurally generated universe of space exploration that's being improved with update after update from Hello Games to this day, means that No Man's Sky really could be the only VR game you ever even need to try out. Whether you're actually playing or replaying doesn't really matter when there are infinite combinations of infinite planets to explore and catalog. VR is full of magical experiences that you really only fully understand if you've been in the headset yourself. There's nothing else like hopping in your ship's cockpit in No Man's Sky and leaving the planet's atmosphere as you go off to find something else to explore. The next two entries on this list just come down to puzzle-style preference, as both Lumines Arise and Tetris Effect are classic experiences brought into the headset and jam-packed with visuals to absolutely feast upon. I personally like the loop of Tetris a bit more than Lumines, but both experiences in VR absolutely rule. Lumines Arise is the more recently released, and it's a great time whether you're on a flat screen or in a headset. Still, you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice if you aren't playing this one in VR. Everything presented visually creates an experience that's weirdly trippy and zen-like all at the same time. And let's not forget the incredible soundtrack, which every Lumines game since the series' inception has become 100% synonymous with. You're going to want a good pair of headphones for this one, as you sink into a perpetual flow state of rhythm and puzzle action. Incredibly similarly, everything positive about Lumines Arise in VR applies to Tetris Effect behind a headset. Tetris, however, has the added benefit of being one of the most prolific and popular video games of all time, and I'd like to contend that the absolute best way to play it is in virtual reality. This is a bold claim, but try this one out and see for yourself. The quick nature of a game of Tetris is wickedly addicting and replayable by default, and the extra near-sensory overload of playing it in VR takes everything another notch further, somehow. Like Lumines, the music in Tetris Effect is mesmerizing as well, combined with constantly shifting, entrancing visuals that create an absolute party of particle effects the entire time you're locked into a game. Play it, replay it, keep replaying it. You are Tetris now. If you're into VR, I think it's probably impossible for you not to already have tried and loved Superhot VR. Along with Beat Saber, it's kind of just become the quintessential virtual reality experience, and for very, very good reason. Been living under a rock? Let me clue you into Superhot Patrick Star. In Superhot VR, you're dropped into room after room full of enemies to figure out how to take down with guns, swords, coffee mugs, and everything else in between. The gimmick here is that enemies only move when you move, so you can take the time to survey your surroundings before jumping into action. This becomes the closest feeling thing in VR to actually being in the Matrix, as you quite literally contort around your living room and floor to dodge incoming bullets, before returning fire by any and every means necessary. There's a story set of missions to complete, but truly, Superhot VR never gets old no matter how many times you run a level over and over. If you're into VR, I think it's probably impossible for you not to already have tried and loved Superhot VR. Along with Beat Saber, it's kind of just become the quintessential virtual reality experience, and for very, very good reason. Been living under a rock? Let me clue you into Superhot Patrick Star. In Superhot VR, you're dropped into room after room full of enemies to figure out how to take down with guns, swords, coffee mugs, and everything else in between. The gimmick here is that enemies only move when you move, so you can take the time to survey your surroundings before jumping into action. This becomes the closest feeling thing in VR to actually being in the Matrix, as you quite literally contort around your living room and floor to dodge incoming bullets, before returning fire by any and every means necessary. There's a story set of missions to complete, but truly, Superhot VR never gets old no matter how many times you run a level over and over. I don't know about you, but as a kid that was a major Star Wars nerd, a Guitar Hero lover, and a percussionist and drummer, Beat Saber was a game I couldn't believe I didn't come up with and somehow pitch myself. This is another one that every VR player knows already, but the premise is basically Guitar Hero with lightsabers, and it's consistently always fun no matter how much you've played.
What's better is that this game has been well supported for many years now, so it started as a fairly small soundtrack of songs to play through, has now turned into a massive collection that you can play endlessly if you're down to invest in all the additional music packs. Even if you don't want to spend money on more songs, Beat Saber will still hook you. It's almost a VR guarantee. If there's only one VR game I can demo to a friend group or recommend to someone, it's Beat Saber. The appeal is immediately obvious, and it's one you'll play and replay time and time again as you become a saber-swinging maestro.
Mini golf is one of those near-universal experiences growing up. Whether it was an awkward first date, a family activity on vacation, or whatever else, most of us have gone putt-putting and can wrap our heads around the process. Walkabout Mini Golf takes that idea and absolutely runs with it. The pitch is simple. It's mini golf in VR. It feels perfect and is the most nearly one-to-one feeling VR experience between a simulated and real-life activity. The haptics on controllers as you strike your golf ball make it feel like you're actually playing, and it's an incredible thing to behold. What's more, developers Mighty Coconut have packed so much content into the game at this point that you really can play it forever. If my math is correct, 37 total courses, consisting of 36 different holes each, means that there are now an absolutely staggering 1,332 holes to play in the game. And the team isn't stopping yet, with more DLC courses still coming on the horizon. If I had to pick just one single VR game to play for the rest of my life, it's Walkabout Mini Golf. I've already decided it'll be my nursing home game someday. What's best is that Walkabout Mini Golf is available on a ton of VR platforms, including Meta Quest, PSVR 2, Steam VR, Pico XR, Android XR, and iOS, so it's playable for tons of users across multiple VR ecosystems. See you on the links.